Hi, everybody, and welcome to our podcast episode for the July monthly overview of astrology for 2022 with me, Freya at Midheaven Moonrising, and Christine at Christine Venus Astrology. Hi, Christine, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is well. Excited to meet again and chat about the month ahead. We missed last month, unfortunately. We both had a little bit hectic things going on, but we're here this month for July.
I'm totally going to go for blaming Mercury retrograde on that one.
That's the best answer. That is definitely the best excuse for sure.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the transit and what's happening in the month of July. I feel like June has been just so heavy and busy with astrology. We're in a very Gemini moment at the moment, as much as we're now in Cancer season, which is what we say when the sun ingresses or moves into the new sign. We say we're in that season because some of the other personal planets will soon be in that same sign. But at the moment, we're in Cancer season, the sun's in Cancer, but Mercury, Venus and Mars, they're not in Cancer. And I think I'm definitely feeling that as a Cancer rising. I felt like, oh yeah, we're going to get to Cancer season. It's going to be great. And the sun's there and she's trying her best. But, I think because other planets like Mercury's still in Gemini, isn't it?
Yeah, Mercury's still in, Mercury is still in Gemini. I think it was about 13 degrees when I last looked.
So I think Mercury is in its domicile or in its ruling sign. That makes it extra strong. And the sun being Cancer isn't in domicile. Actually, the sun's in the sign of the moon, so it's fairly opposing forces, really.
It's like the king is in the queen. The king is in the queen spot.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that makes Gemini slightly stronger at the moment because it is in domicile and it's in its happy place. So there's just this kind of like, yes, we're in Cancer season and everything should be nurturing and kind of family and nourishing, and yet we're still kind of stuck in this
and we still have Mars and Jupiter and like all that Chiron stuff in Aries, so we're still stuck way back in Aries as well. We haven't even finished moving out of Aries yet.
So we've still got a lot of spring coming in. Springtime coming into this, this summer season. We've just had the solstice as well, which is when the sun ingresses into Cancer, the longest day of sunlight hours in the northern hemisphere.
So it's the least amount of hours in the day, so shortest day for us here in the southern hemisphere in Australia. So
is that your winter solstice?
Yes, winter solstice. Winter solstice. Yep. Yep.
On the 21st.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Both of us like representing the northern and the southern.
Yeah, there you go. And look, I'm all rugged up in my winter solstice gear. And you're all spring looking, summery looking.
Yeah, I've got my shell around my neck and I'm like, you're ready for the beach.
You're ready for the beach and I'm ready for rugging up. Funny.
So, just to kind of recap a bit over June, we had
June's been a really big month. I feel like a big month leading up to like a big second half of the year. I feel like we've had a bit of a cruisy first half of the year, and I think things are going to get really intense now the last half of the year. Like there's a lot coming.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think we see it in a lot of the mundane astrology being global events, so the astrology of like things that are happening around us that aware of, the collective and society. And we've had that nice break from all of the virus stuff. It feels like the world is sort of opening back up again. We were able to be socializing. This is the first kind of, in the northern hemisphere summer season where we can all be getting out and doing things together again, and not being locked down. But I think it's been quite overwhelming, I think, for a lot of the water signs, and possibly the earth signs as well, and maybe like fixed signs as well. Like it's a lot to suddenly take in, considering we've been living through, such that rigid structure of that Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto in Capricorn that we had back in January of 2020. We're only just kind of coming out of that, but this second half of the year, it feels like there's little kind of snippets of restrictions coming back in somehow. I think we've got Pluto is currently retrograde, isn't it?
Yeah, Pluto is retrograde. Yep.
So Pluto, really slow moving.
Isn't America having their Pluto return, and they're like Pluto's coming like coming right together now? Yeah.
So I think it's it's the 11th of July, I think, and early in July they're having their second sort of hit of the exact Pluto return. So I think we had the first one back in, was it January or February? One of those months anyway, and that was just as everything with Ukraine was kicking off, and America was getting very involved in that situation. And now we've got more things coming up. So isn't the birth chart of America, I think, isn't it, hasn't it got a Cancer sun? Yeah, that would be right, because if we're in the Pluto return. Anyway, I think the birth chart of America has like Cancer rising, or it has Cancer something significant in its chart. I should have really checked that first.
No, it's
anyway.
Hang on, it's Cancer. Yeah, Cancer sun.
Cancer sun.
Yeah. And Jupiter in Cancer, and Mercury in Cancer, and Venus in Cancer.
Wow. What degrees are they? What
this
degree
is America, 4th of July, 1776.
Yeah.
Philadelphia, it says.
The Declaration of Independence, isn't it? That's the
that's the declaration. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So yeah, it's Cancer sun. So what degree? There's a little chart here. I can't quite see degrees. Too small. 13 degrees.
Ah, okay. That's interesting.
So it's in the second decan.
Yeah.
13 degrees would be an Aries degree as well.
Are the you say Mercury and Venus there as well? Are they quite close by to this?
Yeah, let me see. Oh no, I don't want to stuff up the screen share. Yeah, so we've got Mercury, we've got Sun at 13 degrees, Mercury at 24 degrees, and Venus at 3 degrees, Jupiter at 5 degrees.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Jupiter is, that's
all
interesting.
That Cancer energy and everything going on now.
And the thing that has really stood out to me, especially just in this last week, is I'll just touch on it briefly. We don't have to go into it too much, but because I see it so strongly in the astrology, especially having checked that Jupiter degree is quite close to this particular aspect that I'm thinking about, is that the Roe versus Wade situation that's been coming up in the news about making abortion illegal, and thinking about motherhood and the female body and women's rights. And Black Moon Lilith, when I checked before we came on here,
she's in Cancer.
She's at 8 degrees of Cancer right now. And so the sun is, I think, at 4 degrees of Cancer today. So next week, the sun's going to meet up with Black Moon Lilith and be shining a real strong light on that.
Venus at 3 degrees. Yeah. And Jupiter at 6 degrees. Yeah. In the American chart. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's really interesting in terms of.
Especially Venus at 3 degrees.
Wow.
Like that's women, and in Cancer, like that's all about women's rights and stuff like that. Like,
exactly. And you think about Cancer, and I instantly think about like the reproductive organs and the womb, and keeping people safe and protected and nurtured. And Black Moon Lilith, I mean, she's a powerful bitch, isn't she?
Yeah, she's the wild woman. She's the one that's that is wants to rebel against society in a way, or societal standards.
And then we've got Eris as well, who's still in Aries, and she's like, no,
Yeah, she's the female warrior. Yeah.
Exactly. And so
Mhm.
they're all playing. Eris is in Aries, and we've got Jupiter and Mars in Aries. So she's being like made more powerful and more significant by that transit. And then we've got Black Moon Lilith with the Sun right now and conjuncting, you know, there was a Venus and Jupiter in the America Pluto return chart, and I just feel like you can really see that, can't you? Because everywhere on my news feeds at the moment, you know, women are up in arms, and you know, it's bringing up all of this stuff about.
And
like,
sorry to interrupt, I just had a thought. We've got Chiron. Well, we're talking about Aries. We've got Chiron and Jupiter, which have just does me in Aries, and it's the 4th house of this chart.
My God. Yeah. And so the 4th house being our roots, our ancestors, like ancestors,
women, our mother, our women, home, family, everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. And
that's giving me chills. That's nuts. So crazy when the astrology aligns like that. Like astrology is crazy how much it aligns. Like, oh,
I know. And obviously the sign of Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon is the body, and it's, you know, the feminine sign. It's the nighttime. It's all of these things that we're kind of like, it assimilates and accumulates, and you know, it gestates as well. And just thinking about that in terms of what's happening in the mundane astrology, the global events, it just seems so significant.
Crazy.
What was I thinking about? And then because we've got Pluto retrograde as well at the time that America is having its second exact hit of the Pluto return, and Pluto being in Capricorn, this is all about the authorities, and this is like how it was when we were in these lockdowns and all having to like live by the authorities and what they're telling us to do and how they're telling us to behave, and we got no kind of real right. I feel myself getting louder as I'm talking about this. I'm like so passionate.
And Pluto is governments as well.
And Capricorn is as well, isn't it? Because it's that hierarchy.
It's
and
it's like it's authority.
Hierarchical system telling us this is how you have to live your life, not that there's a choice. And like I heard this thing on the radio the other day that was, I don't know, something about polio suddenly becoming like coming back into society, and I had this text or something that said like you must make sure your child is like vaccinated against polio or something, but it was just like the wording, it didn't say you have a choice here to get your child vaccinated. It was like, this is what needs to happen. And that's what it felt very much like with the virus as well. And then this is what it feels very much like with the Roe versus
you
Wade.
have to do what we say, and that's it.
And because Pluto's retrograde, it's like it's taking us back down that avenue, because it's asking us to, you know, bring all that stuff up from the depths, because that's what Pluto does. It gets us to like mine and excavate, and then bring it all back up to the surface so that we can rise again and be like the phoenix from the ashes. But we have to like look at this stuff.
10-minute walk.
So I think that's really interesting. And then also it's, let me just check the date, we've got a new moon in Cancer this month, so that aligns as well. Pluto. I think actually I've got it written in here.
It's all about Pluto's all about control and power as well. So
absolutely. And it takes you to the dark places. If it's, you know, if you're going to look at your birth chart, Pluto shows in your birth chart where you feel those deepest levels. You know, it's fears as well. It takes you into places that you really don't want to look at. So I think you can really see in the astrology at the moment that it's all playing out in society. So the new moon is actually before July. It's actually on the 29th. So is that this Wednesday, 29th of June, at 7 degrees of Cancer, new moon in Cancer.
We still have to have one this week. That's right. Where are we at now? So the moon is
on a different day where you are.
Let me just move forward.
It's actually at 3:52 in the morning here, so it might be the 30th for you.
Moon will go too far. Where are we at? 27th. 5 degrees, so it's almost pretty much there. So the 20, I've set this to New York time this time, not my set time zone, so it's more general for everyone, and that's what most things in the world are set to. So I've got 28th of June,
Yeah, because it's happening really early in the morning in the UK on the 29th.
Okay, yeah.
So
then this is like 6. This would be about, if I go exact, let me go. Oh, see, it's doing that crazy thing. Where did it end up? I know, but I don't know what it's doing. Okay, so 29th of, this is like the next morning now, so it went way too far. Go back, you silly thing. I think it just keeps going 1 hour until you stop it or something, like, I don't know. Oh, hilarious. Okay, so we've got,
it should be at 7 degrees of Cancer, and that is going to interact obviously with that US chart as well.
7 degrees, there we are, right there. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's we're building up to, and we're building down, winding down to a new moon, because it's less energy with a new moon, and it's all about that feminine energy in Cancer. And it's like the new moon is when, like, it's at the darkest point too, because it's before it starts to grow again, you know. So it's we're going through a dark feminine dark, you know, like a dark night of the soul through that feminine energy, almost like we're leading down into that before we come out renewed into that new moon.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a big reflection, a big reflection point too, I think, for that.
Very. And it's a new moon in the moon sign, so you get one of these a year, you know, new moon in the moon sign, and it's like, it's almost like a kind of a springtime in itself.
It's almost like a new fresh start for women, or for feminine energy, or for that, you know, everyone's got that feminine, for that feminine energy, like a fresh springs. I feel like it's like a spring start for feminine energy. Yeah,
and it's
however, I think it is making a square with Jupiter. Hang on, look here, 7 degrees exactly.
Okay, so that's really significant, isn't it? Because, you know, what are we
in Pisces too? In Pisces, sorry, it's not in Pisces, in Aries, in Aries. So it's that warrior, that fighting energy, that masculine, and it's almost like that masculine fighting energy, that dominant energy against that feminine, flowing, beautiful energy. It's like, it's a square, so it's intense, it's an obstacle, it's a restriction, like, and that's what is restricting that feminine energy. The masculine is restricting that feminine energy, almost, like, that's pretty crazy.
Crazy. And I think with squares, there's always something positive that can come from it, but there'll
be hard lessons to learn from it, though, from whatever it is, and then something good can come from those hard lessons, maybe. And it's very much about us, like, staying in our integrity during, like, the whatever hard squares and situations are coming out. We have to stay in our integrity, stay on track, stay on path, not get lost and detour off path, you know.
Exactly. And I think, like, the new moon is the moon is very intuitive and very linked to inner feelings, whereas Aries and Mars and Jupiter are very kind of like loud and out there and active, and the moon is very inner and kind of,
especially in that Cancer new moon, it's going to be very much wanting to just go into its, like, shell of the crab, into its shell, and hide out and just, like, get away from all the crazy chaos, the Mars energy from Jupiter and all that.
Really, like, niggling at us, isn't it? You know, it's hard to ignore that square energy. So that's a lot of powerful fireworks going on.
I think that's intense. I think this is, like, triggering the intensity for the rest of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a real turning point, isn't it? Like we said, this is a bit like it's a whole new start with the new moon, but we've had this first half of the year that's been fairly kind of like fun and flowing, and now it's just like, no, we've got to get serious again, and we're going to be dealing with a lot more of these energies and these aspects coming in.
It's felt like, even in my personal life, it has felt really sort of a bit cruisy the last few months, and in this last, like, week or two, my work life and just everything, it's really ramped up. It's like, crazy shit's going to start happening now, like.
Last week there wasn't any, like, spare time. There was something happening every day, and like my moon in Pisces, I'm like, no, I need the spare time. I
want to do this. I want to do this, and I couldn't get the other things I wanted to, like, I wanted to have pleasure and playtime, because Venus is in Taurus, and it's like, or was in Taurus. I want to have that nice playtime, you know. It's like the last little bit of Venus in Taurus is like, nah, and then Venus is in Gemini now.
not available to us, and now all this like powerful energy is coming in. And yeah, exactly. It's definitely felt, isn't it? So we've got that new moon, that's at the end of June, and then July 4th we've got Mars entering Taurus.
So we've got, I've got him at 29 degrees here. Let me go forward a day. Oh god, I gotta stop that. Gosh, that crazy button. Okay, there we go. All right, 0 degrees, there we go. So 5th, so it might be 4th or 5th, depending where you are in the world. What's that? 3 a.m. 3 a.m. Yeah, depending where you are in the world. Mars is entering Taurus. So Mars is like fiery and passionate and going and like heaps of energy, but as soon as it hits Taurus, it's like the tortoise and the hare. It's like the tortoise comes in and it's like it's really slow. It just like sticks to it, like stays the long path. It gets what it needs to get done, but it's slow and it's not that crazy action orientated, fast paced, aggressive energy going after what it wants. It's very much slower and more practical and grounded and earthly, and it can make us feel like a lot slower as well.
Yeah, and at some point whilst Mars is making his journey through Taurus, he's going to come up to conjunct the Uranus in Taurus and the North Node in Taurus, which are getting closer as well.
Yes.
That Uranus, Mars Uranus, that's when I say that, even just in the pit of my stomach, I feel like uncomfortable. Mars Uranus, like that is
well, it's just even like the Uranus and the North Node together, like they're coming together now. You can see here in this chart, they're 20 degrees and 17 degrees. Like they're both kind of like wild card energies almost. So like those two together, and then Mars, the planet of like rage, aggression, power, sexuality, like action, all that stuff coming to those three. It's like these three, and like even just Mars and like Uranus and the North Node have a lot of unique have some weird similarities, but then Mars and the North Node do too, with like the way they are so aggressive and like passionate and like driven and that, like those
the physical body as well, isn't it? They're going back to that, all the Cancer stuff we've been talking about. Taurus is about sensuality and like celebrating your body, and Mars is the warrior kind of fighting against that. So it feels like some of these issues are around to stay for a while. They're not just fleeting. It's not like yesterday's newspaper and move on type thing, or yesterday's news feed and move it into like
and Mars is in Venus's sign, so he's not as comfortable, because it is slower, it's more feminine, it's receptive, it's not masculine and fiery, it's earth and grounded.
Absolutely, real opposing forces.
So I think we'll definitely feel that slowdown of that energy. And it's like in that sign of Taurus too. And it's going to get towards that North Node and Uranus, which is going to be a huge for finances. Like something shocking and changing is going to happen with finances in the future. And it's going to be, whether it's like Mars driven in some like warrior masculine way.
Taurus on July the 4th. And then also on July 4th, we've got Mercury entering Cancer. So this is going to just
it's 0 degrees.
More and more to everything we've been talking about.
Definitely.
Considering feminine energy. And I suppose not forgetting that Cancer is what is that word? Cardinal. That's it. Cancer is cardinal energy. So it's like really initiating things and jumping into things with that full force of passion, and that full feminine passion that comes with the sign of Cancer. And Mercury is all about expressing ourselves and communication. So we could see in this.
We'll be expressing ourselves more emotionally, which means that more of all the tense energy that's happened over this last week will be more coming out emotionally from women with that Mercury and Cancer. Women will be speaking up, expressing themselves, speaking their truth, communicating, networking about anything, everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's definitely going to be, it's almost like we're going to take this next week to kind of like process what's happened, and then that following week, that first week of July, it's all going to be coming out.
So it's like we're in processing mode at the moment with Mercury in Gemini. Oh, where did the chart go? Well, there we go. Come back. We're in processing mode with that Mercury and And then as soon as we go into Mercury in Cancer, it's just like the emotions is going to come out. It's like the emotional.
We won't be able to kind of we won't be able to kind of edit ourselves. Although Cancer has that defensive quality as well, so it could just be that.
Yeah, really defensive. And the other thing I thought of earlier was emotional manipulation. That's another thing with the Cancer energy, can be a bit of emotional manipulation with it being in Mercury as well. And something else I thought of too earlier, I was thinking Mercury in Cancer, was like Mercury in Cancer, just the general energy kind of makes me think of that concept of safe space. You know, people like, I thank you for holding space for me. I think, you know, people like let their emotions, their feelings out, and they talk about it. It's like, and you're like, oh, thanks so much for holding that space for me. Like that's Mercury in Cancer, holding that space for someone, an emotional safe space for someone to like communicate their feelings and thoughts.
You know, women's circles coming together, you know, where
like that. Yeah.
And like more so.
And a new moon in Cancer that we're like just about to have too could be like initiating and triggering that. So it's like maybe this will be the start of women now connecting and coming together more through that. New moon triggers it, and then the Mercury going to Cancer, and women are like, nah, let's come together and communicate and express and talk. And oh yeah, I'm getting all these chills. It's like so exciting. I know, I get as well. Oh wow.
Isn't it? Because like unless you discuss this stuff like out loud, you don't always come to those same like realizations.
It's nuts. Astrology's crazy. It just always blows me away.
We've got this like new moon in Cancer, but then on July the 13th we've got a full moon in Capricorn, so the opposing sign, and the full moon time of culmination and
endings, completion.
Absolutely. And any other secrets. Like, I love that about I don't love it, but my Scorpio planets love that, you know, a full moon shines lights on secrets, so it's like
it shines light on it's illuminating something.
And
it's like illuminating the darkness, because where it was dark, and then it's like shining a light. Exactly.
And especially with Pluto retrograde as well, that's about the darkness as well. So that full moon in Capricorn is really really powerful. What where is that?
And it's also, so it's that releasing, letting go, endings, and two, it's going to be of Capricorn theme. So it's like the need to like of like certain reputations, like the need to have, letting go of like, you know, like certain reputations maybe, or certain like ways that was like, I have to achieve this and do this and be this way and do this for society and this and that. It's like releasing, letting go of that as well, I think is a big part of it. So it's like that's the opposite side of that is that Cancer energy, and it's like releasing, letting go of this like patriarchal stuff, that Capricorn energy, and like the control governments, all that stuff. Maybe it's like releasing and letting go of that.
And I think this full moon's at 21 degrees of Capricorn, so Pluto being retrograde, it's not an exact conjunction, but it will be conjunct sort of within 6 to 8 degrees, I think. So it's going to bring Pluto into the mix anyway, through that aspect. So it's just more and more of that the power struggles and the sort of darker stuff coming out, and the government. Yeah, absolutely, it's just intensifying all of that. And that's on the 13th of July.
Let me go back. Where are we? So we've got 21 degrees, 26 degrees. Let me go back a little bit. There we go. So that will be the 13th, 14th, depending where you are. So for me, it would be the 14th of July. And it's at that 21 degrees. And what else do we have going on? I mean, the nodes are at 20 degrees. So they're so I mean the south node's trining the sun and sextiling. So I guess that does play into part of the releasing and letting go, because the south node is all about releasing and letting go. So that south node in Scorpio is all about releasing, letting go the shit, the toxic shit, the crap, the murky stuff, the hidden stuff, the secrets, the power struggles, all that crap, releasing trauma, sex, anything to do like sex trauma and all that shit too. It's like releasing and letting go of all that crap. And like
it's like we said, it's definitely the second half of the year as much. up a few gears.
There's a lot happening, you know, like it's getting, and like even you can see that North Node and Uranus getting closer to at that point. They're 2 degrees away at that point, and Mars is catching up to them.
It's going to be wild. There's so much coming up already. I think we can feel it. Like what was it? I heard something on Pam Gregory's YouTube channel the other day about the PHA, the Public Health Alliance or something.
Okay.
And this is about an independent health movement where you would have one. I mean, it sounds a bit idealistic, but at the same time, like quite exciting. In your society, in your like neighborhood, you would have, you know, pockets of these groups. And so they were saying about delivering first aid and things like that, because ambulance times are so like have been so extended now that like people aren't getting the healthcare that they need. And it's like our resources, isn't it? Our healthcare is our resources, which are very Taurus, very North Node Taurus. Taurus, like kind of sudden ideas.
And like Uranus coming up with like new Uranus, new like inventive ideas and like ways of doing things. Yeah, that serve the greater good.
Yeah, and thinking about Uranus in terms of like Aquarius, it's that community and that sense of like, how can we come together and help each other?
Yeah, and how can we liberate ourselves as well by coming together?
Yeah, and liberate ourselves from these like outdated systems that just aren't.
And that's what that North Node is too in Taurus, is like building our own structures to rely on ourselves and not outside sources. The South Node, other people's resources, money, finances, relying on ourselves and our communities and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like even I have kind of weekly conversations at the moment with my family about sharing resources. It's like, you know, could I maybe get rid of my car and share like a car with my family because they live nearby, kind of thing. Could we like share meals a couple of days a week so that, you know, like we're kind of just sharing in those resources again, because like, you know, money is just wild at the moment. I've never seen it like this before.
And it's going to be worse as Saturn and Uranus still have to make another conjunction in, and that's going to be like even crazier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this is some crazy energy right now. And then I think like,
no, you go.
I was just going to move on to the next.
So Venus enters Cancer. So let me go back to days.
Venus.
So that's, you know, so exactly. So it's more like the feminine energy of Venus in that Cancer, feminine, motherly, nurturing, the caretaker sign. So it's definitely going to like Venus's voice is going to be heard through the mother, through the nurturer, through the women, through the woman, through that feminine energy. And it's going to be emotional. She's going to be emotional and she's going to be, and
highly intuitive as well. And just like an intuitive knowing.
And even that, even when you're saying intuitive too, like that Mercury, when it's in Cancer too, going back to that, that's where we're going to be like our intuition, our thought process is going to be really connected into our intuition and like the senses and sensing people's feelings and emotions so much more in that too.
Mercury's in that water sign. Cancer is like that one that just, you know,
feels it's like Pisces and it feels everything, you know. And so Venus moving in there too, and them both being in there is going to be the feelings, the thoughts are going to be emotional and intense. Yeah,
absolutely.
And like you said, values. So it's like, what do we value? It's going to be like, well, we value the feminine, but also we value that home and family and the aspect of like our roots and our heritage. And also like Venus also is doesn't want to be tied down to necessarily. So it's like her doing it, like her having the freedom to do it her own way as well, because Venus is her it can be like, it's because it's all about that self-worth and confidence as well, and like standing and relying on yourself, and she's very much like that.
Absolutely. And that just, you know, brings back to that Black Moon Lilith thing as well. Like she was, you know, super powerful, and Eris as well, super powerful. I was trying to look up Ceres as well, wondering if she was involved in all of this, but I couldn't find my ephemeris. So
she's moving at the end of the month into Leo. So at the moment she's in Cancer. She's in Cancer at the moment. So July 23rd she moves into Leo.
Way. Yeah. So she's just
everything you say, and then I'm like, I know this, and then this, and then this. It's like, it's lining up. gosh, that's so
And so
crazy.
Ceres is like, it's very feminine energy as well, and she's all about like a harvest, and she's just about like fertility and yeah, all of those things. Like if you, is it Demetra George did a great book about asteroid goddesses, and she writes really stuff about Ceres in there, so it's definitely worth reading up about her, because she definitely links in with everything that's going on right now.
Yeah, and look at that, if you look at the chart now, you'll see Black Moon Lilith and Venus are going to come together. So Venus is at 1 degrees there in that chart, and 10 degrees Black Moon Lilith. They're going to come together, and that's going to be like that feminine wild energy is just going to like.
And that's going to be when Pluto is
so she's quite fast moving. So let me have a look. It'd be exact. The 27th they'll be exact, and Pluto's there too. Oh wow. Whoa, I was at 27 degrees and they're at 11, but all of the moons at 25 degrees opposing as well. That's that same day.
Yeah, there's so much going on, isn't there? It's a really such a powerful time. I feel like we're saying that a lot today, but it's true.
It is. It's just so crazy. Like even like I remember a couple of weeks ago, the Leo King said that because years ago he used to have this energy meter thing he used to do for the day, and it's like whatever it was, extreme, crazy, really extreme or whatever, and he used to be like, it's extreme, and he'd be like, oh, extreme. And he said then he started to look ahead at the astrology, like for the years ahead and what was coming, and he's like, oh fuck, I can't do this anymore because what's coming is even crazier. So he's like, how can I be saying this now when it's like what's coming in the 5 years time, whatever, is crazy. So it's like you say powerful all the time, but it's like it just gets crazier.
It's getting more and more bizarre. I was just saying to someone the other day, like I look back to my childhood now and I almost don't recognize the world that we live in, and I know that's what happens, but you expect it to be the world to slowly change, maybe not so fast, but it's just like this complete reawakening.
Because it's like when you think about like back to like our parents' day or whatever, and it's like it's a completely different world for them, but we never thought that would happen to us. Like
exactly. Yeah, and here we are living through it, and it's and then because Mercury moves so quickly, we've got Mercury going into the sign of Leo on July the 19th.
I mean that's a really fast transit. Like I thought Mercury's usually about 3 weeks, so there's like a 2-week period where Mercury's in Cancer, and maybe that's like the universe is like only wants it to be in that for that short time because it's going to bring up a lot of emotional feminine crap. So it's
and it's also giving it superpower because it's only got 2 weeks, so it's like
that's true too. It's going to be more intense.
Exactly. There's going to be so much like coming out in the
I think Mercury's starting to move faster too because it's catching back up to the sun, so it speeds up as it catches back up to the sun, and then it slows down again. So that was on the
Mercury in Leo is speaking from the heart. So this
Mercury
just,
the 19th.
Follows
expressing ourselves through our heart, through what we love. It can be also expression can be a bit more dramatic and over the top, and we can be a bit more like that.
There will have been time to sort of assimilate everything that's happening, and then when it goes into Leo, it's like time to create with our information.
Really creative energy,
so that we can put a spotlight onto the subjects that we really want to illuminate at this time. So I think that's going to be powerful as well. And then the sun will be entering Leo 3 days later, July the 22nd.
So we're starting to move into that more dramatic energy. I just see Leo is just so dramatic. But it's all about expressing yourself through the heart, through what you love, what makes you happy. And it's creative expression, and it's all about childlike and playfulness and all that. But it's like Leo is also that royalty energy and that king energy that, so it's very much about like having the finer and nicer things as well, and like having certain values, probably similar to like that Taurus energy in a way. They do have both that similar energy of being like wanting the nicer, finer things.
Definitely. And then we've got a new moon in Leo as well on the 28th of July.
And I think also that the sun entering Leo too, that's going to give us all collectively a lot more courage and stuff like that. We're going to be more courageous. Our energy is going to be more, it's in its home sign. The sun in Leo is its home sign. So it's going to be really vibrant. It's going to be like, we'll have lots of energy, vitality, all that creative energy is going to be really strong, you know, a really strong time for energy, you know, for our hearts, coming from the heart as well. And, you know,
and again, slightly different, but in the northern hemisphere, it's like the time of the year when it's always the busiest time, Leo season. Like, you know, it's the summer holidays for the kids, so they're off school. There's lots of activities happening. There's lots of like parties and, you know, big heart energy. Like, let's have, you know, you almost see people in England just living their whole life in 6 weeks of time, you know. It's like they have to go back to school, so it's like just about how do we have fun, how can we be creative about it, how can we celebrate from the heart and just really enjoy ourselves and be passionate about things. And I think
that silly chart, come back.
Yeah, so that new moon in Leo is going to be at 5 degrees of Leo on the 28th of July at 6:55 p.m. in the UK. So just wherever you are in the world.
Here we go. So 28th of July, 12 p.m. in the UK. So for my side of the world, Australia, it'll be early on the 29th, I'd say early morning on the 29th. So yeah, so new moons, again, new beginnings, new opportunities, refresh and restart as well. And a time of, and it's in that sign of Leo, so it's going to be all about things that make us happy, you know, following the heart and going, you know, committing to things. Or children, isn't it? Children too. So new beginnings with, like, you know, with children, or a fresh start or refresh in some ways, that childlike playful energy.
Feeds back again into this whole question of like women's bodies and women's choices to, like, you know, that they can,
and now it's bringing up children. So like we're going from it being it's the feminine energy and it's all about the feminine and the womb and all that, and then it's going to move to about children and it's all about the children, and you know, so who knows what's going to move to next once we start bringing the child energy and children into it.
And now that we've done this episode, I feel like July just feels like it might be the kind of a real like turning point or linchpin of the year. You know, it's just like there is so much that's going to happen in this next month. It'll be interesting to see when we meet back up for you know, August and September.
My gosh, so if we can meet up with everything that goes on and how crazy it's going to be, if we can make the time. I mean, if we look at this too, this chart, so the new moon in Leo chart, we've also, you can see now the North Node's at 19 degrees, Uranus is 18, so they're almost exactly conjunct. That energy is going to be so intense at this time. And then also Mars is right there, so they're in a conjunction already. They're within 3 degrees. It's going to get really intense with that energy too.
And it's for everybody, isn't it? The North Node is that collective moving ahead.
Yeah, so it's the North Node, it's our future, our destiny, what we're all moving towards as a collective. Yep, and it's all about, as we know, like about it's all about food and agriculture and finances and money and resources and our self-worth and confidence, our skills and abilities, and you know, our security and stuff like that. And it's like we're moving towards that, being reliable, relying on ourselves and our what we have and what's around us.
And it's just that one, like, you can't really ever predict what you can say, the things that you're
that's do, but that's it. It's going to liberate us in some way.
Actually, no, we're going to, exactly.
It's a revolutionary energy too. So future revolution, who knows, like Mars coming in, Mars, North Node, Uranus, that's like revolutionary energy right there. Like that is the future, the revolution.
Yeah, and moving us ahead in.
And then a new moon as well at that same time.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And
in Leo, which is like, and it's all about the heart and that love, you know, stepping back into love
and celebrating love.
Celebrating love as well.
Body's unique childlike joy that we all have inside of us, but that, you know, we get so detached from it as we get older sometimes, that it's like, no, we need to remember like what childhood is and how precious that is. And the whole, like, the true creation kind of thing, you know, the whole creative force that makes us, like, that is what's really being called into question. And revolutionary, Uranus moves us ahead, like, you know, by decades at a time, instead of just like, you know, moves us into the next week. It moves us ahead into the next 10 years because it's just so,
it's
like,
raising our frequency. So we go from being in this frequency to then jumping. It's like timeline jumps or whatever they say, stuff like that, jumping timelines. Like, yeah. It's like almost going from like the 3D Earth to the 5D Earth, as some people would say, or, you know, like, and you can see also in that chart too, we have Venus and Lilith still there together quite tight as well. So it's going to be a really interesting month with all that happening, with everything that's like the what we're starting with and then what we're sort of moving in towards is going to be quite intense.
And we've still got Saturn in Aquarius.
I was about to say we've still got Saturn and it's in retrograde. And so, you know, and Pluto's in retrograde. It's like all these planets are like, we're getting towards the end of their degrees, and then they like started to retrograde back, these outer planets, because we also got Neptune there at 25 degrees, which goes into retrograde. This actually, it goes into retrograde, I think, like this week, Neptune. So Neptune going into retrograde is going to be even more intense. Like we thought you know, all the deception and stuff like that we've had, so much that going on is going to start really coming up now, even stronger, and we're going to be able to see it now.
Like, heighten that intuition. If she stations retrograde, she's going to heighten all that intuition that's coming up, that new moon in Cancer and Mercury in Cancer. So she's just going to make intuition even stronger because she's in her home sign of Pisces, and that's super intuitive and like kind of tuned into the collective. And so like this is tidal waves of emotions, you know, this is really powerful.
And we have Neptune going retrograde. Not Neptune, Jupiter going retrograde too. When is that? When does Jupiter go retrograde? Oh, there we go. Here we go. I think it was at end of July. Yeah, so end of July. So again, so we've got, I went a bit far. So stations direct on the 28th of July. So Jupiter has been in Aries. We've seen like all this expansion and growth in the outer world, like people are able to fly and travel around the world and do all these things, and like feels like you know, everything's sort of getting back to normal, and then it's going to retrograde back into that deceptive sign of Pisces, that illusionary energy, that deception, that that's going to be intense when Jupiter retrogrades back. So I think that's where travel and stuff like that we won't be able to, it won't be as easy in that. And whether that's because of fuel prices and all that, because of that North Node and Uranus and Mars and that, like no one can afford anything, so everyone's like stuck where they are as well. But that expansion and growth we felt like we've had the last few months is going to go backwards, and we're going to decrease.
Isn't it? And it, like, there was flooding, there was
natural disasters and stuff like that, like and that's Uranus brings natural disasters, meeting with the North Node, meeting with Aries and that Taurus about the Earth, like who knows what that's going to bring when Uranus and Mars come together. Like that's
just keep thinking about, you know, crop failures and stuff like that, and just not
and because we've got the whole food shortages thing, and we know that Uranus and Taurus and all that energy and you know, it's all about that sort of stuff as well. So that would be crazy. It
is crazy energy.
It is. I think maybe we should just leave you with all the energy for the month.
Absolutely. Just pile that all on top of you, like you can go away and live your life. I just feel like just I think the most important thing to remember is that astrology is meant to empower us so that we know what's coming, so we can prepare, but also it's like it's to help us to see too, so that not only we can prepare, but we can be aware and all that. And it's like not meant to scare us. Yeah, absolutely. And remember that we're all individuals with these transits going on in our individual birth charts, as well as like all of this mundane, like outer stuff happening in the collective. Like, these new moons all affect our individual charts.
Exactly. And not every new moon is a new beginning necessarily for everyone and everything. It depends if it's hitting where it's hitting in your chart and if it's hitting anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And which house and which area of life it's hitting. So it's like we've got our little individual lives going on, and then there's the collective stuff as well, which is always going to be huge, isn't it? No matter what the topics are, or where the planets are. And we've always got our own power going on and our own little stories like playing out in our own individual birth chart. So yeah, it's not something to be depressed about. It's just about like being prepared, I suppose. And,
it's the awareness. Yeah. And the other thing I was going to say too is that, especially because we got so much Uranus energy at the moment, like the one thing that we have to be aware of is, I said, it's about raising our frequency. So it's like, it's all this is happening in the world to get us to a higher purpose, to get us to a higher frequency. It's not to like make us go back lower and be in any bad place and to like, you know, make humanity like have all this bad stuff happen. It's to liberate us, to get us where we need to change we can't repeat history. It's to get us out of old cycles and move us forward.
I'm getting like real chills just thinking about
Same, I got chills.
I feel like there's going to be like some kind of, you know, suffragette type movement type thing. It's very much like, yeah, women centered, like the overturning of the old and moving into the new.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, but there's a lot of power, and I think that's it. It's who's got the power and how are we using it. Like,
and that Pluto retrograde is going through that now, making us to find our own power and come out and step into our own power and not see that we need to have power, look for anyone else for power, but it's all within us.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's a beautiful message to end on. That's really, yeah.
Thank you everyone for joining us. Appreciate it. Make sure you follow us both on Instagram. We're both most active on Instagram. We're not as active on YouTube and things like that. But yeah, find us. So Midheaven Moonrising, Freya on there, and I'm Christine Venus Astrology. Make sure you subscribe, follow all the things. Appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you next month.
See you next time. Bye.